In a previous video, I explained why Matthew 16:28 is one of the clearest failed prophecies in the New Testament of the Bible. If you are familiar with Christianity, you would know that Christians are waiting for the second coming of Jesus. And in that verse, Matthew 16:28, Jesus was speaking about when he will return to earth for the second time. Jesus tells his disciples that some of those standing before him would not taste death before he returned in his kingdom, meaning his second coming would take place within the lifetime of his disciples in the first century itself. But that never happened. Every one of those disciples died and Jesus never returned. So the prophecy in Matthew 16:28 was false. But instead of admitting that the prophecy failed, Christians invented a new theory. They invented a new theory that he is going to return sometime in the future. That is precisely why for the past 2000 years Christians have been saying Jesus is coming soon, and they are still saying it today. This concept of the second coming was born out of a failed first century prophecy. The fact that Christian preachers are still waiting for it proves one thing very clearly. The prophecy in Matthew 16:28 failed. To avoid admitting this failure in the Bible, many Christian apologists claim that Matthew 16:28 was not about the second coming at all. Instead, they argue that it refers to the Transfiguration, an event that took place 6 days after Matthew 16:28. See some examples on the screen. In that event, Jesus appears in a transfigured, glorified vision, along with Moses and Elijah, to 3 of his close disciples on a mountain. Christian apologists claim that particular event fulfilled the prophecy in Matthew 16:28. By connecting Matthew 16:28 to this transfiguration event, they try to avoid admitting that the prophecy about Jesus' second coming in Matthew 16:28 failed. But I debunk that claim by showing the context of Matthew 16:28. When you read the previous verse, Matthew 16:27, it becomes clear that Jesus was talking about his second coming in Matthew 16:28 because in verse 27 he says, "For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done." This is undoubtedly about the second coming, since it involves Jesus arriving with his angels and rewarding each person according to what they have done. This is exactly what the Christian church has been preaching will happen when Jesus returns for the second time. So I debunk the claim that Matthew 16:28 is about the Transfiguration. Now, after that video, someone left a very revealing comment. Here is exactly what he wrote. He says, "Most church fathers and Bible commentaries say that it was about Pentecost, which seems logical. He came with his glory, rewarded the church with different gifts of the Spirit, prophecy, healing, etc., and founded his kingdom, Christianity." This comment is extremely important. Think about it. Why is this Christian suggesting Matthew 16:28 is about the Pentecost? Why doesn't he say that it's about the Transfiguration, just like the other Christian apologists? This gives us the perfect opportunity to expose one thing clearly. Christians who claim that Matthew 16:28 refers to the Transfiguration are dishonest, because even other Christians don't agree with them. In this instance, the commenter quotes the church fathers and commentaries and claims that Matthew 16:28 refers to the Pentecost event, which means those church fathers and commentaries do not consider Matthew 16:28 as the Transfiguration prophecy. So how could those Christians claim it refers to the Transfiguration event? What this commenter and the church fathers he cites is doing is exposing the dishonesty of Christian preachers and apologists who say Jesus was talking about the Transfiguration in Matthew 16:28. If the Transfiguration explanation truly made sense, Christians would not need other explanations. The existence of multiple explanations shows that none of them match the text. So this Christian comment proves that Matthew 16:28 is not about the Transfiguration. But does that mean it's about Pentecost? No. Because the apologists who insist Matthew 16:28 is about the Transfiguration explicitly reject Pentecost as the fulfillment. Think about what's happening here. Group A uses the text to prove Group B is wrong, and Group B uses the text to prove Group A is wrong. They are actively destroying each other's arguments. And the comedy doesn't stop with one group interpreting it as Transfiguration and another group interpreting it as the Pentecost. If you look at other Christian apologetic explanations, you can notice that Christians have invented multiple interpretations about what Matthew 16:28 is referring to. See some examples on the screen. These Bible commentaries, Adam Clarke's and Bond's notes, claim that Matthew 16:28 is referring to the Pentecost. Now, this Ligonier Ministries, a Christian apologetic ministries, claim that Matthew 16:28 is referring to the destruction of Jewish temple in 70 AD. Another Christian apologetic ministry, Logos, they claim Matthew 16:28 is referring to the resurrection of Jesus. Over time, as you look through Christian apologetic comments and academic defenses, you notice a clear pattern. Apologists have invented at least 7 completely different, mutually exclusive excuses to salvage this single verse. One group says Matthew 16:28 is about the Transfiguration, which happened 6 days later. Another group says Matthew 16:28 is about the Pentecost, which took place 50 days later. But that's not all. There is a third group which claims Matthew 16:28 is a prophecy about the resurrection which happened 2 to 3 years later. And there is a fourth group which claims Matthew 16:28 is about the destruction of Jerusalem which took place 40 years later. Then there is a fifth group which claims it's about John's vision on Patmos which took 60 years later. And then there are other groups who claim this is about the invisible Daniel 7 enthronement. Now the question is, why Christians keep inventing these explanations about Matthew 16:28? This is where we must be straightforward. Christians are not confused. They are not misinterpreting by accident. They are lying because they know the prophecy clearly refers to the second coming. Matthew 16:28 is a prophecy about the second coming, and it failed. The second coming did not happen during the lifetime of the disciples as Jesus prophesied in Matthew 16:28. And admitting this would destroy their religion. So instead of being honest, they attach the prophecy to unrelated events and they all contradict each other. Some say it's about Transfiguration, some say it's about Pentecost. Another group says it's about resurrection. And the fourth group says it's about 70 AD. Some say it's a double fulfillment. Some say spiritual fulfillment. Some say already but not yet. One verse, 6 or 7 different contradictory explanations. This only happens when the original prophecy failed. Because if there were a real fulfillment, Christians would all point to the same event. But they cannot. And that itself exposes the problem. What they are doing is simple. When reality contradicts Scripture, they change the meaning of the Scripture. That's why Matthew 16:28 is so powerful. It's not vague, it's not symbolic, it is not open to 7 interpretations. It is a clear prophecy of the second coming of Jesus, and it failed. And the desperate contradictory explanations Christians keep inventing are the evidence of that failure.